Dino Buckler! What up, everybody? It's Blackwing 2040. Welcome to another Super Sentai review. Today's Super Sentai review is going to be on 1992's Kyoryu Sentai Zyuranger, which pretty much gave us Mighty Morphin Power Rangers here in the United States, and that's how Power Rangers got its very beginning. And boy, I got some words. I got some serious words I got to say about this show. Now, if you guys are been a long time subscriber to the channel, I did do like a first impressions Zyuranger review a couple of years ago, and the review wasn't as detailed, but this time I'm going full in on this review, and I am not holding back. So before I go into the whole details on how I feel about the show, let's talk about the synopsis first. Of course, running from February 21st, 1992 to February 12th, 1993. The plot of the show: 5 young warriors from an ancient civilization of dinosaur-evolved humans are awakened during the present day after 170 million years of suspended animation when their sworn enemy, Bandora the Witch, is inadvertently released from her magical container on planet Nemesis by 2 astronauts. The 5 warriors, the Zyurangers, must summon the power of mechanical-looking deities known as guardian beasts, each modeled after a different prehistoric beast, in order to protect mankind from Bandora's evil forces. A 6th warrior, Barai the Dragon Ranger, later becomes involved with the conflict between the Zyurangers and Bandora's forces. So that's just the basic sum plot of Zyuranger as a whole. Now, you would think this show being the show that kickstarted Power Rangers, you would think it would probably be pretty good, right? Right? Wrong. Let's go down just the rundown of things. First off, let's talk about the theme song. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. Hate it. Hate it. Hate it. I do not like it. Now, fun fact though, the theme song is sung by Red Turbo, who the actor who played Red Turbo from Turbo Ranger. He also sung the theme song for his own TV show as well, which is very interesting, I might add. But I'm being very honest here. I do not like the theme song of this show. It doesn't grasp you. It's very childish. It just doesn't pull you in as much. So definitely do not like the theme song. Next point is the suits. If you know Power Rangers, you've seen these suits everywhere 24/7 on a daily basis. What is there to be said about the suits that has been said? Granted, of course, I do like the helmets with them being very dinosaur aesthetic, with their specific dinosaur, and with Dragon Ranger's suit being different. He does have the triangles, the diamonds, just like everybody else on their suits, just underneath the Dragon Shield. But I like how unique the Dragon Shield is to Dragon Ranger. And also, later on in the show, Tyranno Ranger gets the Dragon Shield as well, which is very nice. Very nice design. But yeah, the suits are basic. You know Power Rangers, you know these suits, you see them everywhere, you know what they are, you've seen them, you know what they are, you know what they do. They're all right. That's right. So now, before I start talking about the characters, I want to start talking about a few negative points that I really have with this show. This show, as much as the plot line tries to be very continuous and serialized, this plot line has so many MacGuffins that the show doesn't know what it wants to be at all, from beginning all the way to the end. It's like it changes things up as it goes along. That's my problem. So many MacGuffins have in the show, it just doesn't make any sense. Another issue that I have: this show is very kid focused, kid friendly. What I mean by that, there is literally a kid of the week per episode, and it is annoying. It drives me insane. It does not help this show at all. With this show trying to take a lot more fantasy elements, because that's the first time a Super Sentai has done fantasy. More so, they've done science fiction for the past number of years, all the shows predating Zyuranger. Here, this is their first shot of fantasy, and it is just, it appeals to children, which is, I get it, it's a kid show, but the fact that this show has, like, it is toned down to the kids, it is not great at all. Now, maybe you may say I'm being a little too harsh on it, I mean, yes, it's a kid show, but at the same time, if I'm gonna watch a Super Sentai, and if I had to deal with a different kid every single episode, and the Zyurangers interact with every single child that they see in the show, I pretty much would turn it off. Because, oh my gosh, I could not stand it. I could not stand it. And this is my third time watching this show, and I could not stand it. So those are like two of the issues that I have with this plot, or the show in general. Now, let's start talking about these characters. First, the Rangers, of course. First up, Tyranno Ranger Geki, the leader of the team. Geki, I feel, has to be one of the weakest Red Rangers of the 90s. One of the weakest, because with him being the warrior of justice, he kind of he's a lot very hard on himself sometimes. Too much to the very extent, and him being the leader of the team. And I just don't understand how he barely has any focus episodes. Sometimes the focus episodes that really more so focus on him is if it has to deal with Barai. Other than that, he doesn't get that much development, and he doesn't have that much focus episodes. That's also a problem. But Geki he's really one of the weakest, not the worst, but he's definitely one of the weakest Red Rangers in this decade. And just he's not the best. So now let's move on to the next Ranger, Mammoth Ranger Goshi. Now, Goshi Forever, he's a lot better. The second in command, he is definitely Geki's right-hand person whenever Geki doesn't know what to do. Goshi is that dude. He's probably one of the actually, he is. He is literally my favorite member of the entire team. He's the best Ranger of the entire team. He's like probably the most level-headed Ranger on the entire team. He knows exactly what to do when Geki is struggling, especially when Geki's not around. Goshi's the one that step up and take command. Also, he's the warrior of knowledge. He's literally the best character, the best Ranger. Granted, he didn't even get that much focus episodes either, but still the best Ranger on the team, bar none, straight up. Next Ranger, Tricera Ranger, Dan. Bottom of the barrel. I do not like Dan at all. He is one of the worst Rangers on the team. He's one of the worst. This dude, with him being the warrior of courage, this dude has nothing but just women on the brain sometimes, and he's very slackish. He lows off too much. It's just he's not the best. He's just really, really terrible. He's not the best. I couldn't stand his character to some moments as well. And I think he probably has like the second most focus episodes out of the entire team. And that's another problem the show has. When it's not focusing on just one Ranger on the team who interacts with a kid of the week, most of the episodes focuses on the entire team as a whole, which I get, but that doesn't leave much room for development at all. So on to the next Ranger, Tiger Ranger Boy. Now, Boy is a lot better. He is the quick, agile warrior. He is the warrior of hope. He is definitely, I would say, second best. To me, I feel like Boy is like the second best Ranger on the team. Very, very quick on his feet. He's really dope. Boy is really, really dope. Again, not much I can say about development-wise, but he's a lot more bearable than majority of the other Rangers on the team. So, Boy is definitely, he's okay. He's okay. He's not bad. He's not one of the worst. He's just okay. Average, to say the least. Now, on to the next Ranger, Terror Ranger May. Now, May being the only girl on the team, she, again, doesn't get that much room for development at all. With her being the warrior of love, you would think she would get some form of development at some point. But no, she doesn't get much development either. Again, May is definitely as probably also another one of the weakest Rangers on the team. With her just she doesn't get nothing. She doesn't get anything. I don't get it. She's not one of the best. If you like May, more power to you. But me, not so much. And our last Ranger on the team, Barai, the Dragon Ranger. First ever 6th Ranger in Super Sentai history. And I got some words on what to say about their plot that they did for Barai. You have the first 6 Ranger in Super Sentai, but you decide to kill them off. Literally. And Sentai had a few prototype extra heroes or 6 Rangers before Dragon Ranger became a thing. But with this storyline that they try to tell, it's messy. It is really, really messy. What I mean by that, Barai is Geki's older brother. He was next in line for the throne, and also Geki is adopted because Barai's real father, Barai and Geki, their real father brought Geki into an adopted kingdom, adopted family, and Geki's adopted father killed his real father. Again, very mixed up. Then as a kid, Barai wanted revenge on Geki because that meant Geki was going to be next in line for the throne, because that's one thing I forgot to mention. Each of the Rangers are from different tribe kingdoms, and they all represent royalty. Geki is a prince. Barai is also a prince. So there's that. Another issue that I have with Barai's plot is that the storyline with Barai being, he was also in suspended animation, but it turns out it was revealed that he already died before in the past. He got squished by a rock. But when the door that unlocked for him to get a new chance of life, that changes everything. And then he has a hidden room with the green candle, signifying that he has only 32 hours left to live. So every time he leaves this room, the candle starts to burn out. But anytime he's in the room, time stops. So you shorten out his lifespan, and you kind of tell there's a very confusing plot line of Barai and Geki. It just makes absolutely no sense. The whole plot of the show doesn't make no sense at all. But I would say the only thing that makes sense is the plot line per se, is the villains to some point. Now let's move on to, I forgot to mention, Barai as a character, he's cool. That's all I can really say. But he's sidelined most of the time because of the candle that has his life by a string. That's the only issue. And with him being the first 6 Sentai Ranger, they really do him very dirty. That's all I can really say. Barai's okay. Trust me, when it comes time to put that work in, Barai will put that work in. But you can't really say much for that because he basically spends his time in that room. And then when the Rangers are calling for him for help, he comes out, calls his Zord, and then he disappears. And then there comes to a point where he doesn't even want to tell Geki that he only has a few hours left to live. That's just a problem. Now on to the mentor, Barza. Barza is the worst, probably one of the worst Sentai mentors I've ever witnessed. This man does nothing right. And every time when it comes to a point where the Rangers go through a specific trial and they are literally on a losing streak, he brings up I just remembered something. And he tells them at the last minute. He is literally one of the worst mentors in Sentai. I'm pretty sure Sentai have a fair share of bad mentors, but Barza is definitely up there as one of the worst mentors. He sucks. He's terrible. Just bad. That's all I gotta say about it. Now let's move on to the villains. First up, our main villain, Bandora, who's played by the late, great Machiko Sogo. She also played a Sentai villain. I'm not sure if it was in Denji Man or Sun Vulcan. Let me know in the comment section below because I forgot which one. But she did play a Sentai villain in the past, and she does a very good performance here. Very good performance. Now, Bandora, not to compare her to her Power Rangers counterpart, Rita. Bandora really puts that work in, even to a point where Barai even faces her in kind of like hand-to-hand combat. She really put that work in more than once during the show. Now, her storyline is that the reason why she hates this goes back deeper. She used to be a queen. And in the age of the dinosaurs where the Zyurangers were living at that period of time, a dinosaur scared her son. And I'm going to explain who her son really is as I'm going through the villains. Her son got killed, and then she took revenge. She wanted revenge on the dinosaurs for killing her son. So she makes a deal with Satan, who I'm also going to get to later on down the line. She literally makes a deal with the devil, and she becomes Bandora the witch. And for that, she kills all the dinosaurs. She gets into a huge war with the Zyurangers, and of course, that first battle with the Zords, they imprison her, and then transfer to present day. Those two astronauts release her from her prison. Now, but Bandora, she's a good villain. She is a really good villain. I can definitely say that for sure. Heck, she even has her own theme song. So Bandora really puts that work in. Now, on to the generals. These first two generals I'm going to talk about together, Gryphosaur and Lammy. Funny thing, I find it interesting how these two are married here in this show, but they're not in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. I find that very interesting. Now, for like the first 17, 18 episodes, Gryphosaur is mute. Like he doesn't say anything. He just makes growling sounds. And then the episode when Lammy debuts, then he's able to speak. So I'm wondering, what was the point of having him mute for like 17 episodes in the show? But regardless, Gryphosaur is always on the battlefield fighting the Zyurangers. Of course, if you watch Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, you know how much they use the footage of Goldar. But Gryphosaur is really a cool general. And funny enough, he does have wings. He's even seen in the first episode of the show flying. But after that, you don't necessarily see him with his wings anymore, which I wish they kept. And for Lammy is always, she's a great Sentai villainess. Of course, when it's out there to the point where she's teaming up with her husband on the battlefield, those two really put that work in. So Lammy is pretty solid. Now, the next two generals I'm going to talk about, or let's call them lieutenants for this matter, Totpat and Bookback, who you guys know as Squat and Babu from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. I am amazed that these two are on the battlefield a lot, because in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, you don't really see them doing much at all. But here in Zyuranger, they're out plotting. They do a lot here in this show. I'm very impressed with what they did with these two characters. And of course, there's not much to say with development-wise because they're villains. They don't develop at all. But I'm amazed at how much action or pretty much, usage that these two characters got. So very interesting usage of these characters. The next character I want to talk about is Putty Putty Khan. Try saying that fast 3 times. Putty Putty Khan is the monster creator in Bandora's army. He creates all the monsters. Of course, there's not really much to say about him except for the fact he's always in, the part of the palace of making the monsters. Sometimes he gets annoyed with Bandora's commands to a certain extent. And that's pretty much all I can say about Putty Putty Khan. He's much different from Finster from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, which is very interesting. Now, on to this character, Kai, who is Bandora's son. Now, like I said, Kai was killed by the dinosaurs back during the age of the dinosaurs at that period of time. But he shows up in the final 4 episodes, pretty much the final arc of the show. And I feel like there's not really much you can say about him, but I just feel like I want to bring him up just for story purposes. It feels weird that they brought up Bandora's past within the final 4 episodes of the show, but just to, I guess, give her a little bit of extra layers, which is, I guess, okay. But Kai really, it's not really much I could say about Kai. It's just that he is now basically he's the herald for bringing Satan back to Earth, because Satan shows up twice, and I'm going to get to Satan in a bit. Well, I guess, because there's barely much to say about Satan anyway. But Kai, again, I guess he's just a key figure for Bandora's, character. And the reason why I say that is because when Kai dies, literally at the end of the show, Bandora, she starts to shed some tears for the death of her son, because she loses her son twice in this show. And then after that, she's about to blast the Zyurangers, and then you have the Megazord Daizujin, which is basically the god in this show, saying that when a witch sheds her tears, she loses her powers. Which again, this goes back to MacGuffins. MacGuffins in this show do not help it at all. So Kai is basically just a ploy or biscuit of MacGuffin for Bandora to lose her powers and have the good guys win in the end. That's basically it. Now, for the last character, Dai Satan, which I could say he is the main villain, but in this case, it's pretty much Bandor. He only shows up twice in this show. The first time, he's a force to be reckoned with, and then the second time, he's Kai is basically his herald to signify that he's coming back to destroy the world. And so he doesn't do much. He's literally just ahead. Literally, he's just ahead. And he's defeated very easily. So with this all-powerful villainous force in the show, you would think he'll be a force to reckon with. To a certain extent, yes, but no. He gets killed off very easily. So, yeah. Also, I have another character I want to bring up. The Megazord itself, Daizujin. I don't know what the hell the writers, or in this case, what were they trying to do with Daizujin? First of all, giving him sentience, I get it. The Zords are basically known as the gods for the Rangers from their specific tribes. I get it. But the way how Daizujin interferes with certain plot lines, again, this goes back to MacGuffins. It makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense. And to that, I say all of this with my rating of the show. The show is trash. It is not a good show. If you're someone, how can I say this? If you're someone that's looking to get into Super Sentai and you're well versed in Power Rangers, or you know Power Rangers because of MMPR, I would not recommend Zyuranger as the first season to check out. It is not the best. Zyuranger is not a good season. It's very terrible. It's not bearable to even sit through. Like, there's some points I found myself getting bored while watching this show. So that's my rating of Zyuranger. Zyuranger is trash. If you like Zyuranger, again, more power to you. This is just my opinion. And with that being said, thank you for listening to my review / a little bit of a rant of Kyoryu Sentai Zyuranger. Stay tuned for the next Super Sentai review, which is going to be Gosei Sentai Zyuranger. I'm very excited to review Zyuranger because it is the very first Super Sentai I've watched from beginning to end. It was kind of like my gateway Sentai season, but I can say that was more so Gokaiger, but that was 199 Heroes that introduced me to what Super Sentai was. But in shorter ways to say, Zyuranger was my gateway season to Super Sentai. And I'm looking forward to rewatching that show. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be great. I hope you guys are looking forward to that review of Zyuranger. So in the comment section below, tell me, what did you think of Zyuranger? Did you think it was good? Did you think it was bad? Do you think it was in between? Be civil in the comments, share your thoughts. And don't forget to follow me on all my socials: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Twitch, and TikTok at BlackWing2040. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And as always, I am Vengeance, I am Darkness, I am Blackwing. Stay golden.